With the possibility of Erling Haaland signing for Barcelona looking very much possible, it's time to look at how we're going to be setting up tactically. How will Erling Haaland fit in this Barcelona team? So in this app, which is tacticalboard.com, which you guys could check, definitely a great site to look at tactics. It's a great site, definitely check it out. The link is in the description below. Using their website, I'm going to be looking at how we can set up with Erling Haaland tactically. So in Xavi's system, it's a 4-3-3, fat black 4, 1 DMF, 2 midfielders, 2 wingers, and 1 striker. So with Erling Haaland in this position, and with most of the opposition's attacker in this part of the field, so the black side is obviously the opposition's attackers, and so we're going to be really facing a team that's going to be looking like this. So if the opposition is in black, the opposition will be looking like this, if they're going to also be setting up in a 4-3-3. So against a Xavi team, most teams that we've looked at set up in an extremely deep block, meaning the fact that at times when we're in attack, we see just one striker up front, and we see essentially every single player for the opposition set up in midfield. So we see a lot of the time both of the opposition's attackers more as wing backs, and then you see them set up as like a 4 at the back plus 5 in midfield, making it extremely compact and difficult for Barcelona to penetrate through their defense. So how do we solve this, and how does Erling Haaland help? Right now, when we're in attack, we constantly see our wing backs extremely high up the field. This has really been one of our main sources of attack, because Jordi Alba often goes onto this side, meaning that with only one player or two players, he teams up with Ansu Fati or whoever's on that left-hand side. They team up, and 2 against 2 or 2 against 3, Barcelona normally wins because we have more quality. Now, if that situation is not working at times, because all situations don't work every single time, then what we do is the fact that we often see at times our wingbacks go into midfield, meaning that we see our other midfielders go forward, and then we see all of our attackers go forward. So our attack at times could look like this, where we have all of these players in attack, then we have one of our fullbacks as DMFs, and we have one of our midfielders as a DMF, and then we have 2 in central defense. So at times we see 5 in attack, and obviously with the main man up front. This is how we attack at the moment. Against Atletico Madrid, we saw Dani Alves on the right side, who is right here at the moment, but he would drift into midfield. We would see Jordi Alba still play as a wingback, and we would see a 5-man attack like this. And this would really be how we played. In terms of the other ways that we played, we would a lot of the time see Adama Traore isolated with the defender, meaning that he would always be in a situation where he's one-on-one against the defender. And you guys might be wondering, how does this happen? Well, De Jong, who was playing in that game, would go forward. He would occupy this space, meaning that the defender had to occupy this space. He would often drift into this side and really be causing a catastrophe in all of these areas, meaning that Adama Traore would be isolated. And Adama Traore one-on-one is one of the most dangerous players in Europe. And so that would see him go by the byline, hit a cross in, and that would see it be 1-0 to Barcelona. This was how we attacked. This is how we are attacking at the moment. But there's a few problems with this. First of all, the movement as a striker up front is not very good. Aubameyang, who's currently playing, is just not very fit, meaning that although he does make a lot of good runs, he doesn't make all the runs needed for a striker, and he often drifts into these areas, which is not the best thing you want to do if you just want a pure striker who does the scoring. Now, that is if Aubameyang plays. The other options we have as a striker are, of course, Ferran Torres. And when Ferran Torres plays in the center forward position, he's a different kind of center forward. He's more of a false 9. So we often see him in this center forward position. He would drift onto the left and the right hand side. We see him almost coming into midfield. And Ferran Torres is one of those players that are superb defensively, in the sense that they help so much defensively for the team that they're not always in this area. They're not always like a Ronaldo or a Messi who are always up forward. They like to defend. And when the opposition have the ball, when all of our players go back to defend, with a player like Ferran Torres, we're not going to see him just stay up front. We're going to see him come back, and we're going to see a line like this where we literally have all of our players back to defend and help the team. But with an Erling Haaland up front, it's a completely different matter because he might not help defensively, and that is not what we need. We need a striker that is just there up front. A striker that, once the winger beats the man, he's always there up front. That is who we need as a center forward, and that is what Erling Haaland will provide. That is why he's perfect for Barcelona, because when we do beat a man, which Adama Traoré does so many times, he has a person there, and we've been struggling with that. The other problem that we've also had with a player like Ferran Torres is the fact that he's just not great aerially, and this is something that we have to just cope with. Ferran Torres is not a striker. That he's not a proven goal scorer. He scores goals, he's clinical at times, but although he makes a lot of good runs, his job is not to score goals. It's to provide goals, and is to cut in from these wing areas, drift inside and score from this position, drift inside and provide for the striker. But right now he's playing in this number 9 role where he's just expected to finish all the chances that Barcelona are creating. And so if we don't have a proper striker, we're going to continue to struggle with the same things that we're seeing at the moment. Although Ferran Torres is a brilliant player, no doubt about it, I think he's a perfect player for Xavi's system and for the system of the Spanish national team as well, because he's a super player in that sense. But he's not meant to be the central forward for this team. He's meant to be a winger, and that's where I feel he fits in the long term. But right now he's playing as striker, but with Erling Haaland as striker, once Adama Traoré is really isolated and beats the man, he'll always have Erling Haaland up front, who will finish the chances 8 out of 10 times, and I can guarantee that. So that is why I think Erling Haaland is perfect for the team in one sense. Now, there's always concerns when it comes to any kind of player coming into a club in terms of how he fits into the team tactically. Right now, with the system that I've just told you guys, it seems like he fits relatively okay, right? Because if we play in this 4-3-3 system, and we have our 2 midfielders here, we have a 3-man in attack. And in theory, it looks all good. We have a lot of good players, and Ansu Fati, Ferran Torres, Haaland, Gavi, Frenkie de Jong, Nico Gonzalez, Pedri, Dest, Araujo, all of these players, when you first think about it, sound great. But there's some clear problems with this team that I think is important to really talk about at the moment, because it is a huge problem. The one problem that I think is probably the biggest problem is the fact that we have a lack of creativity on the wings. Like I said, Ferran Torres on the right-hand side, he could beat a man, but he likes to come inside into this position and score goals. So he's more of an inside forward. Same thing with Ansu Fati. He could beat a man any day. He can even cross the ball in sometimes. But that is not what makes him a great player. What makes him a great player is cutting into this position, scoring. Cutting into this position and scoring. That's what makes him a great man. And that is not what Haaland needs. When Haaland is playing up front, you want a player that could really come into this position, similar to Adama Traoré, and really just cut in, cross it in. Or go by the byline, cross it in. That is what you need. But with Ansu Fati and Ferran Torres looking like the starters next season, that won't happen. And a lot of people will be like, well, we have Adama Traoré. No doubt we have Traoré. But there are 2 problems with that. First problem is, Traoré doesn't have consistency. And this is something we just have to accept. He's not a consistent player. Yes, he's been performing the first few games for Barcelona, but unless he provides consistency over a whole season, we're going to have games where he's just going to cut in, but not know how to make the right decision, and, cut into this side, do a stupid shot here, cut in right in this position, cross the ball here, because we've seen it with Adama Traoré. We saw it even in that Napoli game, where at times he would just cut in, have so much time, but be so clueless on what to do with all that time he has. And with that kind of problem, we are going to struggle. So that is my only concern with Adama Traoré. And the other thing is, we need more than one creative winger in the team. Whether that winger will be a permanent solution or more of a substitute kind of winger, we need more than one creative winger. We don't have that. And so unless we get a player like Antony or Paulo Dybala would be a perfect option, because he was honestly regarded as the heir to Messi's throne, and he's obviously a free agent in the summer. If we can get our hands on him, he would be perfect, because Dybala in this position would kind of be right here, right outside the box. He could provide a through ball that would see Erling Haaland really get that finish. So he could provide a through ball into this position and just see Erling Haaland finish and score a goal. Or we could see a position where he would just cut inside into this position and cross the ball. That would see Erling Haaland come inside. Or he could just be a good footballer. Just get the ball into this kind of position and really drift inside and then either pass it to Erling Haaland or shoot from outside the box. So that is who we need as a right-sided player or a left-sided player with some kind of creativity. Unless we do this, we are going to struggle with Erling Haaland because we're not going to have enough creativity. And the lack of creativity for this team is a huge concern. So that is definitely something we should be looking at. So with Erling Haaland in this team, a lot of improvements are clear. We're going to be definitely converting a lot of the chances that we're creating because he's going to take chances. 8 out of 10 times, he was going to score a goal. He's a superb finisher, has great power, great speed, and if we really utilize what he's best at, which is finishing, pace, strength, and if we utilize all those qualities, along with his aerial ability where both of our wingbacks can just cross the ball in to the box because they can actually trust a center forward that can actually head the ball, which we've been lacking for years. Suarez had that quality, but it's been almost 2 years since Suarez left the club. No replacement found. Luke de Jong is a great option, but technically he's not at that level. He doesn't have the pace, but he has great aerial ability, and that's what saw him succeed so well against so many teams this season because he's our only player with any aerial ability in the box. And that is why he was so important against the game in Espanyol. And so, unless we actually get a player with some aerial ability like Erling Haaland, we're going to struggle because your wingbacks will have nothing but a low cross, another low cross in, a third low cross in to our center forward. And if you keep doing low crosses, it's going to be predictable for the opposition defense. No matter what level, they'll be able to predict this. And so we need someone with a different option. Erling Haaland is that option. He's the perfect player for Barcelona. Definitely has a lot of qualities. He's still super young, only 21. And honestly, he's a perfect player for Barcelona. Hopefully he signs. It's a lot of money. I completely recognize that. I recognize that we have a lot of problems. But he's not just a player that's going to fill the center forward position. He's a player for the future. He's a player that's going to completely change Barcelona in the global level, the way that teams look at Barcelona, because you have that focal point in attack. He'd be perfect. Yes, our defense needs a lot of fixing up, but we're definitely going to be looking at that in the future in more videos because I'll be looking at more tactical videos like this. And obviously, if you did like the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, and